In this lesson, we'll touch on single and double quotes. We'll take a look at how double quote strings will evaluate and parse variables or escape sequences. And we'll also take a quick look at single quote strings, their outputs. This is just a cursory introduction. As the series progresses, we'll talk significantly more about quotes, especially single quotes, and some things around the backslash. Once again, guys, be sure to stick around for the entirety of the video as I give most of my insights towards the end of the lesson. All right, with that being said, let's jump in. The other thing I want to talk about is quotes. If you noticed when I typed out the final echo statement, you may have noticed that I wrapped it in double quotes. And I want to clear up the thing between double quotes and single quotes. I'm going to do my best to do so in this video. Now, let's just say we wrap these in single quotes. Instead of using double quotes, I placed a single quote here and a single quote at the beginning. I'm going to remove this and I'm going to jump back into our browser to see what happens. And it says, as of this year, PHP language is, and it puts out the actual variable. It doesn't actually evaluate what the variable is and then give you the value. That is because when you're using single quotes, anything between single quotes is treated as literal text. It's actually just text. It'll output it as what you see is what you get right here. When we use double quotes, the PHP engine will actually interpolate this variable that we use for the calculation and then give us the result of what we're calculating here. You could do this along the lines of using a squiggly bracket or a mustache bracket, however you want to say that. And this can kind of visibly show you that this is being interpolated. And it's really like a fancy word for saying PHP is replacing the actual value of this variable with the value it processed here. Hey guys, what's up? Kevin here. I just want to give a big shout out to my subscribers. If you haven't already subscribed, please do so. Be sure to give the videos a like, a thumbs up, and start a conversation. Much appreciated. Now let's get back to the video. Now, I don't want you to be too confused about this as we'll cover this in greater detail, but I wanted to mention that so that you could figure out what was really going on here. Now, the reason for using that squiggly bracket is because sometimes the actual interpolated variable is followed by a character. So let's say we created another variable up here. I'm going to call it game. I'm going to give it an assignment of, let's say, once again, Fortnite. And then if I echo out a statement below here and say something along the lines of this, you'll see that I get an error here that says this, variable is not defined. And it is actually defined up here using the variable game. If I add the actual squiggly or curly braces, you will see that it'll be interpolated as I don't mind playing these game. It has an S on it, which is Fortnite. Now, it doesn't actually make sense, but I wanted to show you this as an example. Do keep that in mind. And the other thing is when we use single quotes and we have something like an apostrophe in the actual sentence, we do have to escape those characters. PHP will look at anything between the first single quotes and say this is literal text, and it wants to output IDON. So the way we get around that is by using actual escape sequences. So the backslash before the actual apostrophe here will denote that we're escaping this apostrophe and we're telling PHP to continue reading this literal text with the apostrophe within it. And the problem that you also notice is if we escape this, then the actual variable doesn't become available. So we have to remember that double quotes act as a signal to process variables and special characters known as escape sequences, and there are a bunch of escape sequences, and I'll cover that in a later video. But I wanted to get you thinking about this ahead of time. This will all unravel and make sense. If it doesn't make sense right now, don't worry about it. I want you to get into the mindset of thinking of how strings are interpolated or how and when to choose a single quote versus a double quote. For now, just remember that double quotes will process variables and special characters. And if you happen to have, a word that uses a special character, wrap it in double quotes because it will get interpolated or echoed out the way you expect it. So when you're working with markup such as HTML, this concept will be revisited once again. But for now, I just really want to plant a seed in your mind about the differences between double quotes and single quotes. Some of these things will become very apparent. If you're new and you're a little bit confused about this, that's okay. We'll clear it up. But I want you to get thinking why PHP is doing what it's doing when it comes to quotes and single quotes, when it comes to comments, and when it comes to using self-describing variables and things along those lines to make your code a little bit more readable for you and any other future developer that has access to your code.